Guys, I want to tell you about our friends over at Frostbuddy. It is drinkware engineered to keep your beverages exactly how you want them. Whether you're heading out for an adventure or just powering through your day, Frostbuddy's flagship product, the Universal Buddy, replaces the need for multiple can coolers by fitting virtually every 12-ounce and 16-ounce can bottle you drink, sodas and seltzers to coffee and sparkling water, all in a single versatile design. Constructed with high quality double walled stainless steel and thoughtful features like a flexible silicone lid and a tapered shape that fits most cup holders, Frostbuddy keeps drinks cold for 12 hours and hot for up to 6 hours. So you get consistent temperature control, whether it's an iced drink on a hot afternoon or a hot coffee on the drive to work. Built to last, field tested for durability, and backed by a 30-day return policy, Frostbuddy makes everyday moments, from tailgates and beach days to backyard cookouts and commutes, more enjoyable. Going over and click the link below and use promo code SSS15 to get 15% off of your first purchase when you visit our friends over at frostbuddy.com. And when you use that promo code SSS15. Are you tired of spending upwards of $7 to $8 on coffees that are full of sugar and high in fat? Well, look no further than Chike Nutrition, the brand redefining what coffee can do for your day. Chike Nutrition combines the rich, familiar taste of real coffee with 20 grams of high-quality protein and the energy of 2 shots of espresso, giving you both fuel and function in every scoop. Available in a variety of crave-worthy flavors like mocha, caramel, vanilla, and many more, Chike delivers smooth, cafe-style iced coffee that mixes instantly with water or your favorite milk, with no clunky blender or complicated prep needed. Each serving is designed to be low in sugar, packed with protein, and loaded with real espresso, so that you can get a sustained energy boost that helps power your morning, workout, or busy afternoon without the crash that comes from sugary coffee drinks. Whether you're looking for better nutrition in your coffee routine or a smarter way to stay energized and full longer, Chike makes it simple. Scoop, shake, sip, and enjoy. If you want to take advantage of the new year and get in the best shape of your life, click the link below and get yourself 10% off of your first order over at ChikeNutrition.com.
My apologies for the delays that we've had in live shows, guys. I know I have been busy, of course, been on vacation in Pigeon Forge. Did do some content, though. Check out our State of the Program series on the Oklahoma Sooners over on the YouTube page. Had a great conversation with our good buddy Eddie Radosevich on the show. Make sure you all do us a favor, though, guys. We're jam-packed live atop a beautiful we're live atop of a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Central Louisiana. Make sure you all do us a favor. Hit the like and share button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or post a new short here on the Southern sports scene. Every live show brought to you by our good friends over at Frostbuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use that promo code SSS15 to get 15% off your first purchase. That is code SSS15 to get 15% off of your first purchase. We want to also thank our friends over at Chike Nutrition. With 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, and 1 gram of sugar, you can get every day started with a healthy, hearty cup of coffee. Just use our promo code in the link below. And also, big announcement for those of you that did not hear. Last week, we have come to an agreement with our good friends over at the Buzzer Network. We will now be producing live streams on the Buzzer Network to be featured on their platforms. We appreciate the Buzzer Network for partnering with the Southern sports scene and helping us grow our audience as we continue to bring you the best content around college football on the internet. Guys, we've had a lot that's happened in the last week. that we have to discuss, that you and I have obviously have to discuss. And again, I apologize for the lack of live shows last week, but guys, we've had we've done some amazing numbers over the last week. So once again, I ask you, make sure y'all smash that like button down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It helps boost our algorithm, and it helps get us growing our audience to other people that might be interested in us here at the Southern Sports scene. We got a lot to talk about today. It's SEC spring meetings. And we have had a lot of things that have been developing. And all of a sudden, remember this. Remember last, I believe it was August or right before the season started in 2025. Remember when the Big Ten and the SEC said, if you expand to 9 games, we will expand the playoff to 16 teams. That was the whole discussion before the start of the season, literally maybe a month or a month and a half before the start of last season. What did we get earlier yesterday? Well, SEC coaches are saying that they were misled about the 9-game schedule and the 16-team playoff. So here is what we heard. When it came to the 16 team, the Big Ten was all in on expansion. Okay? That was number one. That was the obvious thing that we knew. We knew that things like this were going to happen, and things of this nature were going to continue. John Summerall said they felt misled when it comes to this. But guess what? Sankey messed this thing up. Number one, because you fell into the realm of, okay, we're going to let another conference determine what happens for our future. That's what the number one thing that you messed up with. But it feels like coaches are the only people that are wanting expansion. And I'm telling you, this is the only reason why they want expansion. Coaches want expansion because it's another paycheck that's coming in their pocket. That's why you see a lot of these coaches saying, man, we need to expand into this. We need to expand to this. Mike Elko said the quiet part out loud. He said they want 40. The thing about it is that Mike Elko, God bless him, because I love him as a coach and I love him as a player. He says, what does Mike Elko want? 40. Then I won't get fired. It's okay to make it hard to get to the playoff. None of us are answering for the good of the sport. We're answering for the good of ourselves. That is why we want to expand. For the good of the coaches. So that they can look and answer to recruits and say, we went 9-3 or 8-4 this past year, and we got a patch on our jersey that says we made the college football playoff. That's the only reason why we are having these discussions now, is because of this. Is because we want that college football playoff banner to hang. We were a participant in this. We were this. We were that. It helps in recruiting. That's the only reason why. But here's what's going to get tiring. ADs are going to quickly realize that if you're consistently barely getting into the playoff or just missing out on the playoff, it's going to wear thin on a program, especially if you are a team that exceeded expectations and you're expected to take a next step forward, a la Penn State. That's why Steve Sarkisian came out and said, why did James Franklin get fired? Let me tell you why. And our good buddy Landon Tangwell, who is a former Penn State offensive lineman, pretty much laid it out beautifully. This is why, Sark. And this relates to why coaches are going to get fired because of this, because Penn State was a great example. And although Penn State had a disastrous season last year, let's say they do make the playoff, I think that the same thing would have happened. I really do. Last year, Penn State had the easiest route to get to the college football playoff. Home against SMU, who, nothing against SMU, they're not the same when you compare them to what Penn State was this past year. The next week, when you go play Boise State, who didn't deserve a top 4 seed, that was a blowout. And then you're an interception, you are one decent throw away from going to overtime with Notre Dame. I think they win in overtime against Notre Dame. Me personally. That happens, and they're one win away from a college football playoff. And we hyped up Penn State all last year, and we said, this is the most talented team that James Franklin has ever had. You have 2 guys in Nick Singleton and Katron Allen who comes back who can be 1,000-yard backs elsewhere. You have a quarterback that you hyped up, and people were claiming he was a top 15 pick. I did not believe that whatsoever. I thought he was always overrated. You went out and you got the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football in Jim Knowles to help continue to improve your defense. Everybody was on the Andy Koltnicki train. They start off 5-0. They're in the top 5. They blew it to Oregon. They're literally this close away from beating Oregon. And then you have back-to-back games where you're favored by 20-plus points and you lose. That was the final straw. James Franklin got grace after his first breakout season in 2016 when they win the Big Ten title, when they go to the Rose Bowl. But eventually, it gets tiring when a team goes 1-15 against top 5 teams after that. It gets very tiring. He could not win a big game. The same thing is going to happen to coaches nowadays in this, if we go to an expanded playoff, in which, by the way, it's inevitable. We're going to go to an expanded playoff, whether we like it or not. And you know what Greg Sankey said to that during the week? Piss on the 91% that don't want a playoff. Piss on what they think. That's exactly what he said to us. And we're supposed to sit there and accept that. My frustration with this doesn't stem at the SEC as a whole. My frustration stems upon the administrators and the media executives that are so freaking greedy that they want to expand and they want to say, piss on the consumer, piss on what anyone else thinks. This is what we're going to do. That is how you lose your audience. Straight up. Straight up. It's such a joke, dude. And it's so stupid. I don't get it, dude. I just don't. So, from here, where do we go from this expanded playoff that is ultimately going to happen? Guys, we know that this is ultimately what we are going to have to deal with. Is it frustrating? You bet your ass it's frustrating. But, again, this is what we got when we expanded. And by the way, it wasn't but 2 years ago that Sankey was the one that had the final say and said, screw what the ADs had to say, we're going to expand anyway. And he said, I got to go talk to my ADs about what we can do with expansion. That's BS. Complete BS. Completely BS. They don't care about what fans want. So whether we like it or not, this is where college football is headed. And eventually it's going to get to a point where the Big Ten and the SEC are going to break off. We're going to see a Super League very soon. And everybody came at me in the comments saying, we've never been talking about a Super League. Guys, that's BS. You remember 2 years ago when this proposal came up and then they scratched it? That's a pretty good format for it. I've been talking about a Super League in college football for 2 years. I talked to Jake Crane about it around last February. Not this February, but February of 25. Straight up. So, you know how to put yourself in a deeper and deeper hole every time when it comes to this time in college football. It is just so stupid how much this whole ordeal has fallen completely. But you get what you asked for, and that's the bottom line. And I'm pulling up the clip right now. I think I think this was from February. No, this was from March 5th of 2005. And I want to pull it up real fast so that I can show you guys what I said March of last year whenever myself and Jake Crane had a conversation about where the NCAA could go in the near future. I don't think the NCAA is going to be an institution for long. I don't. Straight up. Hey, I'm on a live show. Bye-bye. But here we go.
And I said this a couple times on my show. By the time we get to the 2030s, we will not have the NCAA because of this. They're losing the lawsuits in the courtroom. The players now have more free range when it comes to NIL.
By the way, we can scratch that last part because the NCAA just got their power back because of the Brennan Sorsby situation. But continue, me.
Jake, let me get your thoughts on this. Am I wrong for saying the NCAA may not be around by the 2030s?
No, I think you're right. I don't think it's a hot take at all. I think it's what's going to happen. I hope it happens, before 2030. The NCAA, as you mentioned, that they have no teeth now. The college football doesn't need the NCAA. They're a unnecessary evil right now over college athletics. So to your point, what I think is going to happen was we will have this breakaway, this Super League. But what I think you're going to see is you finally can get guidelines and structure. Look, players should get paid for name, image, and likeness. I get paid for name, image, and likeness. They offer a ability that not many people have. They need to get paid for that. They need to get paid for jersey sales and this, that, and the other. So I'm all for NIL. But we need to treat this like businesses get treated.
And that comes to my next point is that we now have to have NIL where we have guys that are being treated like employees. Because that's essentially what this is turning into. Just saying. But that's a topic for another day. The bottom line is that I've been talking about this for a very long time. I've been talking about how the NCAA is probably going to be abolished and it's probably not going to be around for much longer. Just saying. But we'll see, man. I mean, there is nothing that we can do anymore than We have to sit back and be a witness to this crap. It sucks. It really sucks. Seeing how things that we don't really want, it's being forced upon the viewer. Nobody wants expansion, but the ones that do, I mean, who is it benefiting? Who? Who will it benefit? It's going to benefit nobody. That's the thing. It's a joke, man. It's just a freaking joke. And that's what pisses me off about this so much, is because of how aggravating I am at this. So we'll see, man. I mean, you there's still a long ways to go when it comes to meetings, but there's got to be some talking going on behind the scenes about all of this, because this is downright ridiculous. It's going to happen whether we like it or not. So our thing that we have to do is, we really don't have much that honestly, there really is nothing much that we can do other than the fact that we just have to be patient with where the future of this sport is going to go when it comes to expansion. What are we going to get overall at the rest of spring meetings? So we'll see. But continuing on spring meetings, Steve Sarkisian is making new headlines once again. This time, he calls out Texas Tech. He called out Lane Kiffin, and now he called out the whole James Franklin situation. But I do want to address some things that were said when it comes to the Texas Tech situation, because honestly, that is much more important than it comes to the James Franklin situation, because I don't think that Sark had a background as to what was going on with the Franklin situation. Just me personally. I don't think he understood the whole thing and what the fan base felt behind it. I think the fan base was tired of James Franklin. I think they knew that it was national championship or bust in 2025. If they did not make it to the college football playoff, James Franklin was going to be out of a job. Bottom line. Well, guess who's now in that position? I think that it's Steve Sarkisian. I don't think he's going to be fired this year. But again, will Texas bite the bullet on a $60 million trigger? I don't think they do. And look, they have the money to probably pay his buyout. But the thing is, they just fired one of their basketball coaches. Okay? Their baseball coach, who is now Jim Schlossnagle, heck of a situation that is, to be honest with you, is now being paid. I don't know what is Jim Schlossnagle's salary. I apologize. I'm looking at it right now. He's got a 7-year, $15.4 million contract. So right now he's going to be making $2 million after this year. I'm trying to look at where Texas went with basketball too, because I think they have a new I think their second basketball coach. Yeah, they're on Sean Miller with his first full year. How much did they pay him? They fired Rodney Terry, first of all. I don't know how much his buyout was. I should have done all my research before all this. But they paid his $5 million buyout. Sean Miller has a 6-year, $32 million contract. And now you're talking about a $60 million bullet that begs the question, does Texas go ahead and take the bullet? No, I don't think that they're going to do that. I think it'd be stupid of them to do that, and I think it's just plain out just ignorant, straight up. So that's one thing that you got to look at. The second thing is this. Sark's had a lot of comments lately, but he better back it up. Because let's just be real. Look, this was not a very good Texas team whenever he took over. Let's just be real with each other. This was a Texas team that was more or less very, I don't know how to say it. They were disappointing with Tom Herman as their head coach. After he got that first year out of the way where they go 5-7, they've been a hell of a lot better. The thing is that with Texas, they've beaten Alabama with with Nick Saban there. But what about the rest of the schedule? That's the thing that a lot of teams have to look at. And especially when you're entering into a new conference. 2024, they have a fairly easy schedule. Definitely helps them out at the end of the day because they make the college football playoff. They had a pretty good road to get there. They had to scrap through Arizona State, but apart from that, that's really about it before they lost to Ohio State. And I'm not saying that Ohio State was a slouch. But what was their big win? Against Michigan, where Michigan had a really, really bad post-national championship year, where they lost almost everybody. Beating Oklahoma at Red River. They got embarrassed by Georgia at Austin, where a lot of people had them pulling an upset. I never thought that was going to be the case because, number one, that's a Texas team that couldn't get out of their well-owned way offensively. They escaped Vandy. You beat A&M, your rival, which you're supposed to beat. You lose the SEC championship. What did you look like in 2025? Well, again, you haven't been able to win necessarily a pretty big game. Is A&M considered a big game? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I consider that a big game for you. But you got to do more, dude. There's got to be more. You beat a top 5 team or top 10 team in Oklahoma this past year. You beat a Vanderbilt team that was really good. I'm not downplaying those 2 games. But again, you got embarrassed by Georgia. You lost against a really, really bad Florida team. And there were a lot of games where you just did not get out of your own way. And it was frustrating to fans. Texas is in a must-win situation now. This is not make or break for Steve Sarkisian like it was for James Franklin last year. Make no mistake about that. But they did make changes where changes needed to be made. They fire Pete Kwiatkowski. They hire a guy like Will Muschamp because later on during the season, this was one of the worst defenses in college football. Texas got embarrassed from a defensive standpoint. And now you get Ohio State back at home. But look at the rest of the schedule for you. At Tennessee, Oklahoma and Red River, Ole Miss at home, at LSU, at Texas A&M. Shoot, last year we were talking about these close games that Texas had. Shoot, listen. If Kentucky has one more good offensive drive, they win the freaking football game. If Mississippi State's defense doesn't freaking collapse at the end in the fourth quarter, Mississippi State wins that football game. If Vanderbilt is able to get that onside kick near the end of the game, which, by the way, they were very close to getting, Vandy probably comes back and wins that football game too. We're talking about a Texas team that won 10 games last year. Make no mistake about it. Pretty good season for them. But that's not expectations anymore with Sark in the building. Because they've recruited well, they hit the portal well, they pay guys. They know how to pay. But you're looking at last year and looking at that 3-game stretch where, hey, they could have easily gone 1-2 during that stretch. We're looking at a 7-5 Texas team. And we're looking at 2026 as what does Texas look like now? That's how much of a difference that those 2 games were for Texas last year. Do I think that Texas is overrated? I think they're very talented. I think they have the tools in place to succeed. I think they did a great job of going to get quality pieces that they needed to fill roles on both sides of the line of scrimmage and in their skill position. They get Hollywood Smothers, who was the best back in the transfer portal. You get a playmaker like Cam Coleman from Auburn, who is going to be your number 1 guy. You bring back Ryan Wingo. You bring back Ryan Niblett, who was a fantastic All-American returner. You bring back Trevor Gooseby, who's going to be the best offensive tackle in the country. And you bring back the best defensive player in the SEC in Colin Simmons. What more could you ask for from that unit? If they fall short of expectations once again, and if they go 9-3 or whatever it is, you are looking at 2027 as a make or break year for Steve Sarkisian. Guys, the grace period is very close to waning in the Sark area or the Sark era. Do I think that he can be a really, really good player? Absolutely. Do I think that he can, or do I think that this is a good Texas team? Yes, this is probably the most talented Texas team that Steve Sarkisian has had. That includes 2024, when they had all that talent on that roster. My thing is, can it translate to what the field looks like? We don't know. And I don't think we're going to have the answers right now when it comes to Texas. Steve Sarkisian better win. Do I understand where he's coming from when he makes comments like that? Yes. Texas had a very good schedule this past year. They beat 3 top 10 teams at one point in Texas A&M, in Vanderbilt, and in Oklahoma. 2 of the 3 were playoff teams this past year. Texas Tech beat the piss out of a BYU team that had a really bad strength of schedule. That's why BYU didn't get in. But again, Texas Tech was able to handle business in the regular season, no matter how bad their schedule was. I'm just saying. And this is, again, not a shot at Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech. Do I think that they're in a awkward position without a guy like Brennan Sorsby under center? I have faith in Will Hammond, but I don't know. But when we talk about Texas Tech and we talk about the impact that their schedule is going to have on the committee, it's pretty good. Texas Tech had 2 ranked wins last year. Well, yeah, honestly, 2. Well, when you look at the schedule, say 3, they played BYU twice. I mean, this was Texas Tech's non-conference schedule, too, this past year. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State. This is their non-conference schedule in 2026. And I think it's pretty similar. And I think it's the exact same, to be honest with you. I think it is. No, Abilene Christian at Oregon State, and they play Sam Houston. Abilene Christian is in the FCS. Sam Houston went 2-10 this past year. Oregon State went 2-10 this past year. Come on. We got to do better than this. We'll be right back for more of us here at the Southern Sports Scene. I got to use the bathroom. The blooper reel is continuing to show. We just love things like this. All right. Hey, we'll be right back. This is Southern Sports Scene.
Guys, I want to tell you about our friends over at Frost Buddy. It is drinkware engineered to keep your beverages exactly how you want them. Whether you're heading out for an adventure or just powering through your day, Frost Buddy's flagship product, the Universal Buddy, replaces the need for multiple can coolers by fitting virtually every 12-ounce and 16-ounce can bottle you drink. Sodas and seltzers to coffee and sparkling water, all in a single versatile design. Constructed with high-quality double-walled stainless steel and thoughtful features like a flexible silicone lid and a tapered shape that fits most cup holders, Frost Buddy keeps drinks cold for 12 hours and hot for up to 6 hours. So you get consistent temperature control, whether it's an iced drink on a hot afternoon or a hot coffee on the drive to work. Built to last, field tested for durability, and backed by a 30-day return policy, Frost Buddy makes everyday moments, from tailgates and beach days to backyard cookouts and commutes, more enjoyable. Going over and click the link below and use promo code SSS15 to get 15% off of your first purchase when you visit our friends over at frostbuddy.com, and when you use that promo code SSS15. Are you tired of spending upwards of $7 to $8 on coffees that are full of sugar and high in fat? Well, look no further than Chike Nutrition, the brand redefining what coffee can do for your day. Chike Nutrition combines the rich, familiar taste of real coffee with 20 grams of high-quality protein and the energy of 2 shots of espresso, giving you both fuel and function in every scoop. Available in a variety of crave-worthy flavors like mocha, caramel, vanilla, and many more, Chike delivers smooth, cafe-style iced coffee that mixes instantly with water or your favorite milk, with no clunky blender or complicated prep needed. Each serving is designed to be low in sugar, packed with protein, and loaded with real espresso so that you can get a sustained energy that helps power your morning, workout, or busy afternoon without the crash that comes from sugary coffee drinks. Whether you're looking for better nutrition in your coffee routine or a smarter way to stay energized and full longer, Chike makes it simple. Scoop, shake, sip, and enjoy. If you want to take advantage of the new year and get in the best shape of your life, click the link below and get yourself 10% off of your first order over at chikenutrition.com.
Good timing. Once again, my apologies for that little short delay. All right, continuing more on today's topic. Brennan Sorsby, according to Pete Thamel, has been ruled ineligible for the upcoming season. Honestly, guys, we knew that this was something that was going to happen. Honestly. When we got the news at the end of the day, I think it was yesterday, that this happened. Listen, I mean, what more could you have said? And what more could have been put on the table that could have shown that Brennan Sorsby was not going to be eligible for this upcoming season? He says he's completed a 35-day inpatient rehab for his gambling addiction at Algamis in Goodyear, Arizona. He said he will return to campus in the coming days. His court date is set for next Monday in Lubbock County. So which judge is going to play? Which judge, I should say, is going to take over this case? I don't know. And by the way, can he go play in another league? Can he go to a junior college and do this? Because honestly, man, I don't think that right now, I think that he is in a very peculiar situation, and I don't think he's going to go to the supplemental draft. I think it would be very, very, how do we say this? Tedious / I don't think there's a lot of NFL teams that are going to take a risk on him right now, especially with this going on. But I just saw a tweet from a good buddy of mine, and he is one of our G6 insiders, from our guy Garrett Armbrust. And he asked, could he go play JUCO ball this fall and still get kick tape and keep his game in shape? Because remember Hunter Decker's gambling case back in 2023? He transferred from Iowa State and played at Iowa Western, got some tape, and he's now playing in the UFL. Went to Iowa Western for a year and then ended up playing the 2024 season there, and then went into the 25 NFL draft. That's my question. So I think that this is an interesting case. He's good enough to get selected in the supplemental draft. The problem is that I think that this whole situation with his gambling case and how it's being handled is going to stray teams away from him. I just don't believe that that's going to be the case right now. I just don't see a scenario where this happens. So I don't know what they're going to do with him. I think that there's obviously a lot of scenarios that are going to continue to move along as this case continues. I think we'll get really a definitive answer as to what he'll do for his future come June 1st, because the NCAA has already said something. But again, they said the same thing when it came to the Trinidad Chambliss situation. Here's the big difference, though. We're talking about Chambliss getting an extra year of eligibility based on his clock. This is a whole gambling situation. And we heard the things about, oh, he was gambling to stay close to the team. Guys, I'm just being real with you. That is BS. It's completely BS. And I don't think that this is going to make any real headlines or make any real newsworthy situations about this. If a judge already recuses himself from this case, that's how you know that this is about to go nowhere. Straight up. It's about to go nowhere. I don't think he's going to get his eligibility. I think that the judge that presides him over this case is going to be in a lose-lose situation because Lubbock County is where Texas Tech is at. What does that tell you? We're in a very, very, very weird situation right now. And how is this judge going to handle this case? I would expect for, which honestly, knowing that it crosses across two different states in Cincinnati and Ohio, to be real with you, I think that this needs to go to the federal level. And this isn't my words. I've heard it from guys that worked in the government, that worked for the state, that were practicing law, that did things like this. They think that this is somewhere that this could go to the very top of the food chain. And I would not disagree with them. I really do. I think that this is so weird of a situation that, and knowing how I wouldn't really say egregious, but how just dumb some of these things were and how weird this was all handled, that should tell you a lot about where this team could end up or where this situation could end up. We'll see if the federal level is going to get involved. I don't know how Lubbock County is going to handle this case. But there's a lot of evidence that is not going in Brennan Sorsby's favor right now. We'll see, man. We've seen weirder things. Do I think that he deserved to lose his eligibility entirely? No. I was expecting a 3-game suspension, but if you're going to do the time, don't do the crime, man. That's all I got to say for him. He knew what he was doing whenever this happened, so he has nobody to blame but himself. Just being straight up with you. So I hate it that it's his final year and that this was going to happen to him. But again, you're talking about somebody that did it to themselves. So, oh, man. Well, so deep dive time. And I want to talk about a team that I don't think we're talking about very seriously enough, and a team that I think could very well make a nice little run in 2026. When was the last time we talked about UCLA being a contender in the Big Ten? Never, because it's their second full year in the Big Ten. It's their third full year, I bet. My apologies. But it's been a while since they've been a real contender in a conference. Do I think that it's going to happen overnight with Bob Chesney? No, but I think UCLA has a lot of talent that is going to be returning for UCLA. Guys, UCLA messed up big time when they hired a guy like Deshaun Foster to try to run that team. Bottom line, it was a horrible decision to go with Deshaun Foster. I think they went with him because, number one, he's a UCLA guy, and he's been around the Bruins throughout his entire career. That's the only reason I can imagine why he's doing this. I do wish they would have kept Jerry Neuheisel as a quarterback's coach. I think he did a really good job this past season taking over as a play caller. And I think he helped Nico Iamaleava kind of improve as the season went along. Because let's just be real. Start of the year was abysmal for Nico. 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on the year. And then you have 2 games where he just looks crazy good. He looks much improved. He was running the football a lot more. He looked confident as a quarterback. Look at what he did to Penn State. Look at what he did to Michigan State, Maryland. I think he improved greatly over the last few weeks of the season. And we saw what type of explosiveness that he can bring. So now what is he going to do with a guy like Dean Kennedy in his backyard? Well, Dean Kennedy worked with Alonzo Barrett from James Madison, and look at what he did this past year. He was an elite dual threat guy. 38 total touchdowns all by himself this past year. 23, he passing, 15 on the ground. Alonzo Barrett is a freaking dog. Dean Kennedy is a great signal caller. Dean Kennedy can be a power four play caller anywhere. Bottom line. So this is what some anonymous coaches have said about UCLA. If I was going to defend Nico Iamaleava, I would do some things to stop him from running and make him throw the football, particularly downfield. He's a playmaker, but without his feet and without his ability to scramble, I'm not sure he can sit in the pocket and carve you up. I would agree on that. It'll be interesting to see what the NFL guys think of him. He's a good player and can take a hit. It just didn't seem like he could kill you with his arm. I do think that it would be much better for him with how Nico kind of just was kind of a standstill. Well, he wasn't necessarily a standstill. He's not a guy that's going to stand around in the pocket. I don't think he has that just yet. I think when he works with Kennedy, I think he's going to learn so much more around that side of his game and learn how to be elite when throwing down the field, better communication with his receivers, and he's got dudes to throw the football to. UCLA went out and got a top 25 recruiting class in the transfer portal, I should say. Not really a whole lot of notable guys from James Madison, but they're consistent guys. You get a guy like Wayne Knight, who I think could be a dark horse for UCLA this year. Wayne Knight was a 1,000-yard back, and he's a guy that streaks all over the field. But how is what he did in the Sun Belt going to translate to a much tougher road in the Big Ten? That's the biggest concern for me. What about a guy like Brian Rowe? Deep ball threat and a guy that I really love. I think Rowe, if he would have stayed in South Carolina, I think he's got a bright future. Sucks that he isn't back, though, for South Carolina, but he's going to make a big impact at UCLA. You went out and got a guy like Aiden Mizell, who it wasn't that long ago he was on pace for a breakout year after his 2024 season. And then you look at what happened in 2025, kind of had some issues with with injury, times where he just struggled with dropping the football. We'll see what happens, man. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's going to be a really, really good football player. Make no mistake about that. I think he's in a good system, but how is it going to translate at the end of the day? You went out and got a guy like Leland Smith from San Jose State, who was, I believe, the second or third leading receiver on that San Jose State offense. And Leland Smith was really good, man. 43 catches, 688, and 3 scores. Quality number 2 guy. Had some moments where he did break out against Stanford. Had some games where he had 100-yard receiving games for San Jose State this past year. I think he can translate that to his game. Sahir West, from what I'm hearing, could be the breakout star in the Big Ten. And I'm hearing a lot of noise about he can generate some excitement, and he could potentially develop himself into a late round steal, per se, in the later years. Sun Belt Freshman of the Year this past year. He's a redshirt sophomore right now, so we'll see what happens if he decides to declare for the draft after this year. I don't know what his draft stock looks like right now, but I do believe could end up being a top 100 pick. Has some early projections early on. You do have some really good names, to be honest with you. That was a team that struggled getting off the football and a guy that needed a veteran pass rush. You're getting that in Sahir West. And guess what? We're going to be really dang good. That's what UCLA is saying. Is that we have the guys, we have the roster, and we're going to make a big splash in the Big Ten this year. I look at UCLA's schedule. And depending on what happens, that first game is going to tell me all that I need to know about what that team looks like. Bottom line. Let me tell you what their schedule looks like. By the way, Big Ten Media Days for them is going to be near the end of July. Give me 1 minute. When they play at Cal in Berkeley, that is going to be the game that I need you to highlight if you are a UCLA fan. That first game of the season should be the defining game on what this UCLA team is going to look like. I think that this is going to be the more intriguing matchups on the West Coast for week 1. You get an ACC Big Ten matchup. You're going up against a Cal team that returns a lot of production, that had a solid transfer portal class. They bring back one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC in Jaron Sakapalete. And they brought in some dudes from the transfer portal. By the way, I don't know if we're hearing anything or not. Jacob DeJesus is now in the NFL. So he did not get the extra year of eligibility then. So it's a whatever. But regardless of that, UCLA should have the upper hand in this football game. Because you're talking about a team that has done a really good job in developing dudes in a short amount of time. With Chesney as the head coach, the guys are bought in. It's a different culture there right now. I really believe that this team is going to do something special. UCLA, I might be one of the only ones that think UCLA can do a lot of really good things this year. I really believe that. But it's a tough schedule. Make no mistake about that. You go to Berkeley and play Cal. You get San Diego State and Purdue. I think you should win the first two games in the Rose Bowl. Purdue's bad, by the way. Let's just put a bow on that one, and I can tell you they're not going to be very good. At Maryland is going to be an interesting game. It's in College Park. What does Maryland look like in year 2 of Malik Washington? This is Mike Loxley's last year. But shoot, I've been saying that for the last since last year, and nothing's happened. So we'll see what happens from there. Then they go to Autzen Stadium. I don't know if you're winning that football game. I see you getting to that Wisconsin game at 3-2. You get the next 3 games at home. Okay? You don't leave the state of California until the beginning of November. That should give you a lot of potential and a big boost for you for this year. I think Wisconsin is going to take a step back. I think Michigan State is not very good. Nevada, you should obviously win. You're at 5 wins right there at the most. Or at the least 5 wins. Maybe 6 if you can pull it off against Cal. Then you go to Huntington Bank and play Minnesota. You're home against Illinois. You go to Michigan, and then you play USC for the victory bell. 8-4 is not unlikely for that team, believe it or not. I think that they can make that USC game competitive. I think Illinois may take a step back this year. But again, we don't know what their situation is going to look like. Brett Bielema has done a great job with that program. They've done a great job of getting some quality guys like Caton Hauser. I think he's a very good replacement for a guy like Luke Altmaier. We'll see, man. At Michigan, I don't know if you're winning that one. Illinois is a toss-up. Minnesota, I'm not sure if you're winning that one. I think that Minnesota team's just way too talented, way too good. And I think they're going to make noise too this year. At Oregon and at Cal. At Oregon, I don't think you're winning that one. At Cal is a toss-up. So the ones I know that you're for sure not winning, I don't think you're going to the Big House and pulling off an upset. And I don't think you go to Autzen Stadium and pull off an upset. You have toss-up games against USC, Illinois, Minnesota, and Cal. The worst that you can do is get to a bowl game at 6-6, which I do believe that you can. The worst that you can do is 4-8, which includes dropping to teams like Wisconsin, or, of course, losing every away game. So that's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Losing to USC. Losing to Illinois. Losing to Minnesota. And then taking care of business in some of the non-conference games at 4-8. I don't think you're going to lose to Michigan State, to be honest. 4-8 is your floor, in my opinion. You can be a 10-win team. UCLA can be a very good team this year. That's my thoughts on this. But that's going to wrap it up for us here on another great episode of the Southern Sports Scene. Make sure you all do us a favor. Hit the like and share button down below. Make sure you also hit that subscribe button if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Buzzer, make sure you hit the follow button and make sure that you're tuned in every Tuesday and Friday. I'll be going live during both of those days. We like to go in the evening time, but obviously due to work, I'm going to have to reschedule for an afternoon for today at the least. But guys, we're bringing you the best content available on the internet right now. Make sure you hit the repost button if you're watching us on X, and make sure you hit the follow button as well. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay blessed and don't stress. Y'all have a great rest.